Once upon a time, love erupted with a mighty roar. A ball of living, breathing light exploded into the universe, of fire and ice, suns and moons, planets and animals, you and me. And since that first moment, love has known itself and has expanded itself through us. We can rejoice in our divine birthright as children of love's first light. Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Hank Peirce. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And I want to thank you for letting us into your homes again this morning. Well, once again, things are different than they were last Sunday. Last week, we had the entire worship team up here in the church. This week, it's just me. And everyone else is leading their portion of the service from their homes. And we are very lucky. So thank you to Jamie, Sally, Melissa, Mary, and Trevor, who are helping to lead worship this morning. I want to welcome all of you. I want to welcome my mother-in-law, Lucy, who's watching us from Vancouver. I want to welcome our friends at Brooksby Village. I know that a number of folks from Brooksby are watching us this morning. And I especially want to welcome our friends from the Wakefield Unitarian Universalist Church, who are also in on this, on our gig this morning, on our service this morning. And before we light our chalice, I want to just flag something for you. After our service, we're going to have coffee hour. You're going to want to hang out at coffee hour, and you're going to want to stay. And Jamie's going to tell us about that at the end of our whole service. So, but stick around after our worship service for coffee hour. You'll have to provide your own coffee though. Now let us take some time and a moment and oops, where am I here? And let us open our service by lighting our chalice. And if you would join me in repeating the words we say each week, in the light of truth, in the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness we seek. Now, Mary is going to lead us in song.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I am going to lead you in song this morning. I will sing. Jamie will put the lyrics up on the Facebook site, on our site, and you can sing along. You'll be singing by yourselves, but we'll be all in it together. We'll also sing it through twice. So you'll get a test run, and then we'll really sing together second time through. Here we go. Gathered here. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour. Gathered here in one strong body. Gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near.
Good morning, everyone. I am Sally, and my pronouns are she and her. How are you all on this first Sunday of spring in this year 2020? It's so beautiful outside this morning, and I hope you are seeing the sun or you're going to be in it somehow today. I'm joining you from home, just like Reverend Hank said. I bet you are too. But maybe you're not home. Maybe you're at someone else's place. I'm in a room in my house that is like a porch. It's where I do my work when I'm home. I wonder where you are. Are you on a porch? Maybe you're in a kitchen, your dining room. Maybe you're in a playroom. You may even be outside. Sometimes people are able to watch TV and their screens outside. That would be kind of weird and kind of fun. Wherever you are, it is so good to be together this morning. And it was good to see Reverend Hank right there in church, wasn't it? Feels so good and so familiar. This morning, wherever we are, I hope you are comfortable. Many of us are now staying home. We are learning about this coronavirus that is just so contagious. And if we can help it from spreading, we are helping so many people. We're helping people not get sick. We're helping nurses and doctors and people that take care of people who are sick. And if you're not able to stay home, or someone you love or in your family is not able to stay home, we all can still help by keeping our distance from each other and from washing our hands, because we are so lucky that this catchy, contagious virus does not like soap and water. Turns out it dissolves when it feels soap. So let's keep dissolving it. Things have really changed quickly, and none of us are doing things quite the same way as we did a week ago, even with worship. It's so weird because while we all work to get through a next day of something that's different, we actually don't know what's going to be like tomorrow or even next week. People can get very anxious when they're not sure what's happening. People can get angry. They can get kind of crabby. They can also get sad. All of these are totally normal ways people behave at different times in life. So just as when we're crabby, sometimes we're really happy. Sometimes we're sad. I wanted to tell you today about a sadness I had this week. It's not a big one. It's actually pretty tiny, but it was a sadness that I came across and that I've been thinking a lot about. So last year at this very time, right after the first days of spring, back in the time that we used to call normal, I was moving and I was packing up my house, and a lot of things were going on. And I remembered I had a drawer right by the back door of my house in my kitchen. And in that drawer, I always had at least a pack or if not, a half a pack of seeds of some sort of flowers that I would use over the course of the summer. And when I was moving, I remember right before I moved, I walked out into my backyard. I took my seeds out of the drawer. I had emptied the drawer to pack. And I took the seeds outside and I threw them out in the yard and left them in the grass for the people that would live there after me. And I wonder if they took root and if they'll be growing this spring. But where my sadness comes in is here. I was thinking about coming on to church this morning and doing Time for All Ages. And the first thing that I wanted to do with us all today was to plant something. Because I thought we could plant something together this morning and check back in on it next week and see what it was doing. And then keep checking on it from week to week and seeing how it was changing. And I realized I don't have any seeds because my seeds were in my old house where I no longer live, and I had let them go, and I didn't have any seeds to reach for. So I'm going to tell you something else I did just about this time last year. I was visiting my dear loved one in a hospital, and I was really busy, and I wanted to give this person a gift. So I went to Market Basket, to the grocery store, and I bought one of those Market Basket plants and gave it to her as a gift where she was in the hospital. And she kept it on her windowsill, and it dried out, and it was time to let it go. And she asked me if I would throw it away. And for some reason, I brought it home to my new place where I lived, and I don't have a lot of plants or flowers. And I cut it back and I put it in a sunny window, and the plant came back, and here it is. So in my new house, I have this sunny yellow market basket plant. I don't even know what it is. And I don't have any seeds. So this morning, I thought I can try and take some seeds from this plant. So I did. And I took what I think is the seed pod. I'm going to show it to you. I hope you can see that. I clipped it off of one of the branches that looks like it's about to go to seed. And I want to plant it for us. And I'm going to plant it in this. And I hope you can see that. And I'm going to water it. And we can check in on it next week. And we can check in and see if anything's changed with this little seed. And we can check in about what's changing in our lives and in our days. And the thing about this seed is I don't know anything really about growing things. I don't know about growing plants. I don't know about growing food. So I'm hoping that what I took was the seed pod, but I'm not sure. And I'm hoping that it was the right time to put it in soil and that it might grow. I'm not quite sure that that's going to happen. But I think something will happen. And I'm going to hold hope that we're going to find something growing out of this little blue pot. And I'm actually kind of curious about what it might be. And even a little bit excited to see what's going to happen, because even if this doesn't grow, I'm going to learn how I can grow something else off of this plant. And maybe that'll be another Time for All Ages. While we're home and we're getting new information and we're learning different things and we're figuring out different ways to be together with our loved ones, remember, sometimes we're going to be happy. Sometimes we're going to be crabby. Let's be patient. Let's be hopeful. And let's be curious and even excited about what might be coming next. Be good to yourselves, and we'll see you online for all kinds of different programming in the days and weeks coming forward. Love to all.
Hi, friends. I am also coming to you from home, and I'd like to invite us into a time of prayer and reflection. I wish I'd brought my tingsha, but you'll have to imagine that sound that's so familiar to us. And let's take a deep breath and enter into a time of prayer. Spirit of love and light, be with us as we are gathered this morning. Spirit, this week has been hard in new and worrisome ways. We have experienced the reach and the freedom of our lives shrinking away. We have lost moments and experiences, hopes and dreams, maybe not gone entirely, but deeply, deeply changed. Hold us as we try to keep our balance, try to keep from stumbling as the world changes so quickly around us. Be with us in our broken hearts, our fearful minds, our grouchy bodies, and our impatient spirits. Be with us as we rediscover who we are and who we can be for each other in these trying times. And Spirit, we have some prayers for the world this morning, and I think the world needs it. For all those who are now sick and scared, we offer prayers. For those lives already lost and those certain to be lost in the coming weeks, we offer prayer. In this time of great change and great struggle, we lift up all those who continue to help, who continue to care, who continue to make a difference. For those in the medical profession, for those keeping grocery stores stocked and public spaces clean, for those working in labs trying to find a cure, for those of us, all of us, who are choosing to sacrifice what we love, what we are used to, for the greater good, we lift up a prayer. In Spirit, let us lift up the prayers and intentions of this community, our church family. I'd personally like to offer a joy from my heart for each of you in this community who has so faithfully and so patiently learned new ways to be in community this week. You make me really proud. Reverend Hank has asked me to lift up the joy of having connections with other congregations. We have greetings this week from Reverend Tibor, our partner church minister in Transylvania. He reached out this week to wish us well in these hard times. And we also have the joy of connecting with our friends in Wakefield, who will be sharing resources and worship time with us for the next several weeks. This morning, with sorrow and also with joy, we remember the life of community member Camille Anthony, who passed away a year ago this week. We remember her life, her legacy, her wisdom, and send our love to her family in this hard time. And here are some prayers from members of our community. Robin Matsky shares with us that her sister-in-law is having outpatient surgery next Thursday. Hold her in your thoughts for both a successful surgery and no issues arising due to the coronavirus. Linda Wilkes shares her gratitude with us all for those who have volunteered to help her and Brent and those who have called to check in on them. Brent is home and awaiting rounds 2 and 3 of chemo. He'd love to get a call or email from you. And finally, we hold the sharing of a member of our community who is lifting up those most affected in their life, specifically a nephew, a cousin, and a niece all working in medical facilities, and another niece who is expecting her first baby in 3 months. We hold these joys and these sorrows and these remembrances tenderly. For all the prayers on our hearts, for this world that we love so dearly, for the hope we can be for each other, and the hope we can find once again. We say a final prayer, Amen and blessed be. And let us now hold a few moments of silence together.
First reading this morning is entitled Carrying Hope from the Czech writer and former President Václav Havel. He writes, I am not an optimist because I am not sure everything ends well, nor am I a pessimist because I am not sure everything ends badly. I just carry hope in my heart. Hope is the feeling that life and work have meaning, and you can have it regardless of the state of the world that surrounds you. Life without hope is empty, boring, and useless. I could not imagine that I could strive for something if I did not carry hope in me. It is as big a gift as life itself. Hope is an orientation of the spirit, an orientation of the heart. It is not the conviction that something will turn out well, but the certainty that something makes sense, regardless of how it turns out. Hope is a state of mind, not of the world. Hope, in this deep and powerful sense, is not the same as joy that things are going well, or willingness to invest in enterprise that they are obviously heading for success, but rather an ability to work for something because it is good. Let's spend a few moments in silence together.
Our second reading this morning is Some Things Will Never Change by Thomas Wolfe. Some things will never change. Some things will always be the same. The voice of forest water in the night, a woman's laughter in the dark, the clean, hard rattle of raked gravel, the cricketing stitch of midday in hot meadows, the delicate web of children's voices in bright air. These things will never change. The glitter of sunlight on roughened water, the glory of the stars, the innocence of the morning, the smell of the sea in the harbors, these things will always be the same. The feathery blur and smoky buildings of young boughs, and something there that comes and goes and never can be captured, the thorn of spring, the sharp and tongueless cry, these things will never change. The leaf, the blade, the flower, the wind that cries and sleeps and wakes again, the trees whose stiff arms clash and tremble in the dark, and the dust of lovers long since buried in the earth. All things belonging to the earth will never change. All things proceeding from the earth to seasons, all things that lapse and change and come again upon the earth. These come up from the earth and never change. They go back into the earth that lasts forever. Only the earth endures, but it endures forever. The tarantula, the adder, and the asp will also never change. Pain and death will always be the same, but under the pavements trembling like a pulse. Under the building, trembling like a cry. Under the waste of time, under the hoof of the beast above the broken bones of the cities, there will be something growing, like a flower. Something bursting from the earth again, forever deathless, faithful, coming into life again, like April.
When I was 14, I was recruited by a friend of the family to go sailing for a month. Jack Radcliffe is a musician. He is this huge, larger-than-life figure in my childhood. He would perform at the folk music coffee house that my mother ran for many years. And he even had my father as a science teacher back in middle school. And all those years ago, he needed one more hand to sail a 40-foot ketch down to New York City and back. He asked my parents, they said yes. I said yes right away. And so during the last weeks of June of 1980, I would head down to the Fairhaven shipyard and learn about sailing. For days on end, I learned about putting linseed oil on wood and coiling rope and sweeping and putting sails up and pulling sails down and tying knots. Lots and lots of knots. Eventually, we were ready to go, and Jack told me to go buy some rain gear. And then he said, and get one of those rain hats like the guy on the frozen fish wears. The next day, he inspected my purchases. That hat, a pair of bright yellow rain pants, and a bright yellow rain coat, which he took in his hand and with one hand, and then took his knife with the other, and he hacked the hood off of that raincoat. And I said, why did you do that? And he said, I'll tell you after our first storm. So the next morning, off we went, sailing out of New Bedford Harbor, like generations of men in my family had before me. They left to hunt whales. We left for pleasure. And we were off to Newport that day. It was a cold, gray day, and soon fog set in. And Jack sent me to the very front of the boat, up to the bow, to listen and look for buoys. You know, each buoy that's out there on the ocean, each one has its its individual number painted on the side, and each of them have their own sound. So you can figure out where you are, even if you can't see anything. That sail lasted a few hours, slowly inching our way through the fog. But we got into Newport safe that night. The next morning when we woke up, we decided to set sail for Block Island. It's about 27 miles in a straight line from Newport, but if you sail, you don't go in a straight line. You have to tack back and forth to make sure you are able to keep the wind in your sails. Sailing is great, as long as you are not in a rush to get where you're going. The morning was beautiful. The sun was shining, and I still remember seeing the U.S. Coast Guard's tall ship, the Eagle, sailing. Its sails, its white sails, shining golden from the sunlight. It was sailing in the opposite direction than we were. And then, there's always an and then in stories like this. And then, the skies started to darken. And soon it was difficult to tell the difference between the ocean and the sky. Jack told us all to go downstairs and get our rain gear and life vests on. We sailed right into a squall, and our little ship was tossed, and so was my lunch. And Jack swore and yelled and swore some more. And eventually I understood that he wanted me and the other crewmate to head forward, to take down the sails and tie up the ropes, and then to hang on. It was quite rough going for a while, but eventually we made it to Block Island. After setting anchor and getting ready for bed, I asked Jack if he would finally tell me why he took the hood from my rain jacket. He said, "Oh, I did that in case you fell overboard. A hood like that just fills up with water and will just pull you right down to the bottom. And I don't want you dying on my watch." Now, I tell you this 40-year-old story because it illustrates, at least in part, where we are right now in our country and maybe even in our world. We've been told that a storm is coming, but as far as most of us can tell, it hasn't really hit yet. Although we hear about the numbers of sick going up each day, and now we've heard about 2 souls here in our state who have died. But for most of us, we've yet to know someone who has contracted the coronavirus. It's getting closer, and we are quickly learning what we need to do to be safe. We're washing our hands and we're sneezing into our sleeves, but that all sounds as useful as learning to tie knots and take down sails when you want your ship not to sink. To be honest, most of us are just lost in a fog, listening and watching for signs that hopefully will get us into a peaceful harbor. We are living at a time of great mystery. Eventually, we will know people who are sick. And once that happens, we'll have a clearer sense of who to stay away from. But for now, we have to act like everyone is a potential carrier of this disease. And so we keep our distance. For some, that's easier than for others. But for everyone, it just feels odd. Because as humans, we are made for relationships. We are made for community. We are made for communion with others, and ultimately, we are made for communion with the ultimate, however you choose to define that. We are relational beings, and there's nothing we can do to undo that. At this time, we are also reminded of our finitude and our limitations. We are aware that our lives start and end. We are also aware that we are not in control. We are not sovereign, we are limited. We are finite, we are mortal. We do not have control. And as much as it bugs us to remember, to be reminded of that fact, as much as we are paralyzed by that idea, we are not in control. Yet we want to be. So we go out shopping because the idol of our time, consumerism, tells us that is what we should do. And like I said last week, there's no amount of toilet paper that's going to keep you safe. But we're acting out of fear. We're acting out of the fact that we are not in control. We're starting to see the broken systems of our nation. The healthcare system, the political system, the economic system. We see bad decisions made. We see opportunities missed. We see people's lives plunged into chaos. This virus is also showing us our fears and our anxieties. People are panicked because our idols are failing us. The people and the things that we have placed our trust in are failing us. But let me tell you something else about humans at this time of mystery. What the thing is about us as human beings is that we need to express ourselves. And so we create ways to express ourselves, ways to show to others and to ourselves that we are still alive. We are creative people, not just us here in this church community, but all humans are creative. Just think of the medical professionals who are out there taking care of people, preparing, or at least preparing us to do so. Think of the scientists working on vaccines. We also feel at this moment the need for meaning and beauty in our lives. I'm sure we've all seen those fantastic videos shot in Italian cities and towns where people are coming out onto their porches, out of their windows, and they're singing and they're playing music. It's beautiful. And it shows that even at this desperate times, humans need connections. They want to be able to do something that makes them, that makes us feel alive. The fact that it has been beautiful sunny weather has meant that people have been filling the streets and the riverways, jogging and walking and boating and yes, even sailing. The street in front of my house looked like a Norman Rockwell painting yesterday. People out walking their dogs, children riding bikes, people talking to neighbors from at least 6 feet apart. And it's not just us. In the email I got from Reverend Tibor there in Transylvania, the minister of our partner church, he told me how he and his wife went hiking over the hills outside of Kolozsvár. My friends, we are going to be at this